After nearly 3 decades covering the Buffalo Bills, this guy knows what he's talking about. Welcome to Sal Speak, the place to be for hard-hitting analysis from Sal Maiorana of the Democrat and Chronicle.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to DemocratandChronicle.com. I am Sal Maiorana, and you are watching the latest edition of the Sal Speak Facebook Live show. And to my right is a guy that I forgot what he looked like. He's been gone for so long. Leo Roth is back in the house after basically 3 months on the disabled list.
DL, yeah, my 40 time is shot. I had a broken leg, if people didn't hear. Yeah, it was a long recovery, surgery, the whole bit, but no crutches. I'm standing here.
Yeah, it's probably in pain.
Standing and walking, and the knee hurts like hell, but I'm all right. So.
All right. Well, it's good to have him back. It was.
I know your ratings plummeted, Sal.
Yes, I know. We needed him on the Sal Speak Facebook Live and podcast. All right, we just touching base today. We did one, I guess, at the end of the season, or I did one. So the Bills have done some things in the interim here, and plus it's Super Bowl week. So I thought Leo and I would get together and share a few thoughts about Patriots-Eagles. We'll start with the Bills, though, Leo. I was up in Lake Placid earlier in the week, so Leo went over to Buffalo to cover what we thought was Eric Wood's farewell retirement press conference. Turned out to be a 2-minute statement, and then a lot of media people wondering what the heck just happened. So you were there. I was following on Twitter, but give us your sense of just what the heck happened and why did it go down that way?
Yeah, it was bizarre, Sal. You know, they gave him the full field house treatment, which was a nice tribute and statement about Eric Wood's status in the organization. I remember when Ken Hall retired, he walked up into the dingy little press area in the old administration building, and 5 minutes, bing, bang, boom, we shook his hand, and the greatest center in the team's history walked out the door. That was it.
Yeah.
Now, Eric Wood, fine player, great guy, you know that. Outstanding in the community, every which way, a real warrior, a guy everybody likes and respects. And so he had the place was packed, ex-teammates and all the team officials and fans, his family, everybody there, the media. And it was delayed an hour, and we're sitting there going, what the hell's going on? So I'm thinking, right away we're thinking that it's a contractual thing.
Right.
And they hadn't quite ironed anything out, The things just weren't lining up. He was on the phone with his agent as the press conference was supposed to start, and so when he did come out, it was very. He read a statement, lasted 1 minute 42 seconds, didn't take any questions, which is very unlike Eric Wood, one of the most personable guys. But he didn't want to stumble into being asked why he was late. Where does the contract stand? He mentioned in his statement that he was still on the roster and he's going to be there for a while.
Right.
So it led to all kinds of other things. Now the take is that it is a contractual thing. He's not officially retired, but he won't play football again.
Right.
He's got a lot of he's had 2 or 3 second opinions on the disc in his neck that is. The news of the day was that he did reveal that he's got a disc that's dangerously close to his spinal cord, and surgery and rehab isn't going to fix it. So he moves on, and it's a tough ending after 9 years, but. As I wrote in my column, I think Eric's the kind of guy with some great perspective on life, gratitude.
Right.
Happy for what football has given him and his family. So he walks away, and not everybody can say they walk away with their health.
The key words there are walk away, because as we all know, with these spinal cord and neck injuries or conditions, you're one hit away from being paralyzed. We just, we're going to
Shazier for the Steelers.
Exactly.
And we all went through.
Guys.
We went through the Kevin Everett thing.
Right. Aaron Williams.
Bird back with the Jets. We were at that game when that happened.
We'll touch on Aaron Williams and his retirement announcement. He went through the same thing with a neck injury. So I was glad for Eric. I know it was devastating news for him, for his family, for the team too. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
This was not a good thing for the Bills, because this was not a hole that they were expecting to fill right in the middle of their offensive line, a 9-year or 8-year veteran who was a good player for them. Now they've got a quandary, but at least he does get to walk in. He found out that he was hurt, he was in danger, and he leaves, healthy and able to go on with the rest of his life. So that was good. Now the whole thing that drove me nuts about this, Leo, was that, how did the Bills front office not understand that there was going to be some contractual issues because of the salary cap. I mean, if you retire with time left on your contract, that's the same as the team releasing you. So they're on the hook for any salary cap ramifications. And they had just extended his contract, a 2-year, $21 million deal. So there was bonus money tied to that that's going to have to roll into the Bills' cap. So I think it's a June 1, a post or pre-June 1 situation was kind of the sticking point.
There's no cap room now. They have to wait till the start of the new calendar year.
But why didn't the Bills know this?
Yeah, well, I think
they had to know this.
Well, I think well, the issue was that they were arguing about there's a bonus money issue. Eric's, he didn't want to be, he's fighting for the bonus money that he's owed. And the Bills are entitled, although there's a gray area when injuries happen. When a guy retires, and it's due to an injury, there's a gray area about what bonus money is still due him. So they needed to hammer that out. Now, all these things, it didn't have to be what it turned out to be on Monday. They could have just said, this is Eric's day. He's going to be on our roster indefinitely till we work out the contractual ends of it all. And it could have been a much more day for him other than this weirdness.
Instead, it turned into a Ralph Wilson, Doug Whaley fiasco.
It really was. And Brandon, I give credit. Brandon Beane, the GM, and Sean McDermott was out. But Brandon Beane, what a stand-up guy. He came right out, and believe me, Doug Whaley wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
But Brandon Beane was there, and he was a little bit like, well, guys, this is what's going on. It's contractual. This was Eric's day. I know it's a little weird. I don't have a lot of answers for you. So yeah, I think a lot of maybe lessons were learned on these retirement affairs. Certainly they needed to button it all up maybe, and maybe Eric could have had his day whenever. But the news leaked out on that Friday before. It was kind of thrown together. I'm sure if they had to do it all over, they'd think otherwise. But it was strange. But still, nonetheless, Eric Wood rides off into the sunset. One of the great Buffalo Bills. He really was.
Absolutely. I think he's Wall of Fame worthy. We'll see. We're both on the committee.
One of the better draft picks.
Yeah, he turned out to be a good first-round pick.
In this 17-year drought that was very much one of the better draft picks.
We have to get used to saying that. We can't say drought anymore.
I know.
There's no drought.
It's seared into my brain, but it's over with, isn't it?
We spoke earlier about Aaron Williams. It was really interesting. Did you read the piece, by the way, on Players Tribune on Aaron Williams?
I haven't, no.
Okay.
I heard it's pretty good. He was very thankful.
Very good.
Very thankful to Bills fans.
He went on there.
The perspective that he has. I heard
he
about
officially announced his retirement finally. He sat out all of 2017 because no team would sign him because of the neck condition. He last played for the Bills the middle of 2016 before Jarvis Landry cheap-shotted him and essentially sent him into retirement too.
Yeah.
I read the piece, and it was really, a lot of those things on Players Tribune, you take them with a grain of salt. I'm not into, oftentimes players or athletes going right to the fan base and bypassing us because this is our job. So I'm not really a big fan of that website, but it is a great.
We wouldn't be fans of it, but you got to admit it's a
great platform.
It is some great writing. Obviously, they get a lot of help. With the writing of these stories, but I've read a lot of pieces on there. Eric Lundqvist had a great piece one time just about motivational stuff. There's some good stuff, but I get what you're saying, Sal. Yeah, well, with everything, nobody's, news breaks in all different ways these days. But I think in Aaron Williams' case, to be honest with you, I hadn't thought about Aaron Williams in a long while, and all of a sudden it was a nice way for him to do it.
Basically, what he said was he went back to his first 2 years in Buffalo, and he flat out admitted that he wasted those 2 years. And to be quite honest, when you look back at the start of his career, he was a second-round pick out of the University of Texas, and he was one of those guys that was, the pampered high school and college athlete, big-time school, goes to the NFL, and he thought when he first got to the league that it was all about fame and money. And it turned out the way he played his first 2 seasons didn't come anywhere close to his draft status. He played cornerback, if you remember, at the start, and he did not work out very well. They finally moved him to safety in his 3rd year, and finally he also came to the realization, which he admitted in the piece, that he had not been fully invested in becoming the best player he could be. He credited Fred Jackson specifically as someone who took him aside and really showed him what needs to be done. And then for the rest of the time that he was healthy and playing for the Bills, he was a very good player. And it was a loss last year, or 2016, when he went out of the lineup. That was a team that, if he had been able to stay healthy, maybe they get to the playoffs. They only missed by the 1 game. So it was a big loss for the Bills, but I really liked what he said in the piece about admitting the mistakes he made,
Yeah.
and hopefully athletes coming up now, young kids who are going to get drafted in April, hopefully they saw that and realize, you know what,
Yeah.
it isn't all about the fame and the money. In order to get the fame and the money, you got to put the work in. Aaron Williams didn't at the start,
Yeah.
but he did at the finish. So I was impressed by that.
I thought it was interesting too. He wrote about when he was growing up how he, being a defensive back, he loved watching the big hits,
Right.
Drilling the wide receivers, being that that missile out there. It worked in reverse for him. Jarvis Landry gave him the hit that put him ended his career. So he said, I can't be I won't be a hypocrite. We DBs we live for the big hit. Well, I got the big hit this time, the big block, as cheap as it was, and so he wasn't going to be bitter about that.
Yeah.
So I mean that shows a lot of maturity.
And you know what? And I'll say this about Aaron Williams too. At the start of his career, and again, now that we look back on it, maybe this was part of it. He just was kind of a cocky kid who didn't get it. And I wasn't really a big fan of him in the locker room either. He just came off as, like I said, cocky and not real useful to me as a reporter trying to do stories. However, he did become a go-to guy and a team leader.
He did.
Even as a young guy. I mean, the Bills had guys like Eric Wood, Kyle Williams, Fred Jackson on those teams, and Aaron Williams was kind of the player that you went to in the secondary to kind of put things into perspective. So he really did grow, I think, a tremendous amount from 2011
he was
to
he was a well-spoken guy towards.
He was.
When he at the end, and I remember when it was the last day in the locker room, and he knew it was over as far as the Bills were concerned. So it was a little bit emotional. He was walking out again, had a lot of perspective. So we really wish him well.
Yeah. The other issue we should touch on real quick now. Now with Eric Wood gone, you're down to Kyle Williams. Well, Lorenzo Alexander, I guess, too.
Yeah.
But Kyle Williams is the face and the voice inside that locker room, and there's a good chance he's not going to be gone. Leo, this team's got a serious leadership void if Kyle decides to hang him up now that Eric Wood is gone. Yeah,
there's a vacuum developing, sucking the air out of that room. And McDermott and Bean on Monday were asked repeatedly about that, and they did address that. It's up to them to start bringing in some of that. So this offseason, free agency, they are going to have to make some moves in that regard. But then there's other guys that'll rise up and fill those holes too.
You hope.
But of course, in Eric Wood, you don't really replace that. It'd be like a Kyle leaving as well. You don't really. But other guys got to move up a little bit. And you mentioned Alexander as well. But so if you lose Alexander, Wood, well, Lorenzo's going to come back, but
we think,
we think so.
He's 35 years old.
I don't really know either. You're right. So you imagine losing those three guys, because those guys are the go-to locker room guys.
I mean, you want to get younger, but you want to have guys who can lead your team, and that's going to be a big void.
And you also had a guy like Wood had a special way about him responding to questions and tough times and all that. Richie Incognito, who's very talkative and can be insightful when he wants to. He's really not that guy.
No, he's not.
Yeah, no. And he doesn't pretend to be. Now, I don't know if it'd be the same thing. I don't think Richie Incognito would be the elevate himself to that level. But again, he's a veteran guy. So yeah, they got some work to do there to rebuild that, and they acknowledge it fully that they have to replace the atmosphere in that room, which was really great at the end of the season.
Let's go real quick to quarterbacks, because one of the guys that was really I thought was on the Bills' radar was going to be Alex Smith, and you connect all the dots, and it was easy to get to Alex Smith as a potential trade acquisition for the Bills because of the McDermott Andy Reid connection. They've already made 2 trades together last year, the draft day trade, and then they traded Reggie Ragland. So obviously those guys are still very close. And you just kind of thought these last couple months, as you start looking ahead to the Bills' quarterback situation and realizing that it doesn't look like the Bills want to continue on with Tyrod Taylor, Alex Smith to me was going to be a good fit. Well, that all went kaput Tuesday night. The Chiefs have made a deal that won't be official until the middle of March when the league year starts. They've traded him to the Redskins, so he's off the table. And Leo, the Bills quarterback, the longer we get away from the season and I look closer and closer at it, I really wonder if this administration wants to part with those draft picks to move up. It just seems like they kind of want to keep their draft picks and build out the rest of the team and figure out quarterback. I don't know. I really am perplexed as to what they're going to do. I just can't, because if they're thinking Kirk Cousins, to me, that would be a humongous mistake. They're just trying now to get out of salary cap hell. And if they bring him in, he's going to be $28 million a year. And God knows what. If Alex Smith is going to get $70 million in guaranteed money on an extension that he's going to sign with the Redskins, Kirk Cousins is going to be in for $100 million in guaranteed money. How does that make any sense?
No, it doesn't make
for
any
a guy
sense.
who's 26 and 30 as a career starter? I mean, they've got a problem.
No, they do have a problem, and we know they have to go. I mean, I don't believe Peterman's the guy. Maybe they do like him still, but they need to get that. It's a good quarterback draft, and they have to get one of those guys, and they have the ability to do it. I mean, if they don't get a quarterback, a young quarterback with a lot of potential to be the long-term answer, it'll be a disappointing draft if they just don't make that move. If there's a guy up in that top 10, top 5, whatever they have to do, I mean, they have the collateral to do it, Sal. That would be a disappointing draft if they don't get the other young quarterback. The question is, what do they do for 2018? There's other guys out there. Maybe it's the guy we watch on Sunday, Foles. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you.
You got to have a bridge. You need a bridge guy. It's not going to be Tyrod. Do you believe they would bring Tyrod back?
I was just going to say, I mean, they did this last year.
I know.
Tyrod, I've been done with Tyrod for 2 years.
I know that, but they don't completely dislike Tyrod, and judging on what happened towards the end, maybe they feel. Of course, I mean, again, we go. What do we do? We're going to go to the Jacksonville playoff game when they score 3 points.
I know.
We're going to.
But he's already here.
Yes.
It's going to be $18 million, and if you're looking at him as a bridge quarterback who you're going to bench 4 games into the season and go with a rookie, then yeah, $18 million is a pretty hefty price tag. However, to me, but Leo, if the Bills don't trade up high into the first round to get one of those top 4 guys, say, they're going to be maybe they'll pick a guy in the second round. Well, that guy is not going to be able to play, I don't think, in the first year. You would think that wouldn't happen. So you've already got Tyrod Taylor on your team at a price tag where if he plays the whole season, and that draft pick is going to be for 2019. You're going to sit him like Mahomes sat in Kansas City. Then having Tyrod here isn't such a dumb idea, given the landscape.
It's not a dumb idea, and even though the 18 mil sounds outrageous, this is what the rates are now. It's not outrageous. Now, if they bring, say they do, if they get the quarterback, they're not going to. I don't think these guys want to throw a young guy in there and ruin him.
Right. So you need a bridge guy. We said
you need a bridge.
But it wouldn't be Tyrod at that price.
The reality is that the Bills, I think fans need to be prepared for the prospect that the Bills could take a step back next year. I mean, as they work this quarterback thing through.
No, I've said that already. I said it's very possible the Bills could go backwards in order to go forwards in 2019.
I mean, they were only 9-7 here. I mean, it's so. And yet I have I really do have a lot of faith in this regime. I really do. And but the reality might be is what we have just talked about. Until they get that thing figured out. Yeah. It's right here though, Sal. I think that guy is in this draft. They got to get that long-term guy. Yeah. They got to identify him.
And at what price?
And they got to do it.
At what price though? That's going to be a hefty price. It's going to cost them to go up into the top 5, say.
Yeah.
All right, Cleveland's at 4. They're already will have picked their quarterback at 1. They're at 4. Denver's at 5. Denver seems like a very good place where Kirk Cousins could land. So let's say that they get their quarterback there, so they wouldn't be drafting a quarterback. They'd be interested in trading out. The Jets are also a possible landing spot for Cousins. So 5 and 6, Broncos, Jets could get Kirk Cousins and take them out of the draft possibility. Right. So maybe you've got 4, 5, or 6 where the Bills can trade up to. But that's going to cost them both of the first-round picks they have.
Yeah.
Probably maybe to even out the value. I checked the value chart. It's probably going to take a second-round pick. Now, maybe you do that for 2019, but it's going to take 3 high draft picks to make that move up to get the quarterback. Yeah. You better have the right guy in mind if they're going to do it. So it's a very tenuous situation for the Bills. By all rights, the best thing the Bills could have done this year was lose to get in position to make it easier to go up. But that being said, we're glad the drought's over.
The drought's over.
I'm not gonna crap on them for going to the playoffs.
It was a fun, encouraging year. I think that showed people what can happen when you get some breaks, when you have some competent coaching.
And you know what people started saying too, because you look at the quarterbacks that were in the Final Four. Do you really need the star quarterback? Nick Foles is about to start in the Super Bowl. Blake Bortles started in the AFC Championship game. Case Keenum for the Vikings. Do you need the guy, the superstar quarterback?
Well,
I think you do, but.
Well, I mean, you can always point to throughout the NFL history. There's been quarterbacks that have won. I mean, Jeff Hostetler beat the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. I mean, it does happen. Teams are built all different ways, and obviously the teams you mentioned there too. You have great defenses. You can build a team with a great defense and a competent quarterback. You don't have to have the superstar star. But you know what? I want the superstar. I want the guy.
It's Buffalo's time.
Don't we want Jim Kelly again? I mean, it's time.
Yeah. If I had to, Leo, if I had to pick right now what I hope the Bills do, I do hope they mortgage the draft picks and go get one of these kids. I really do.
I know you're talking about that, and I know there's lots of needs on this club, and I know they think that way too. But I think they're also bold enough to say, if they really identify a guy and they got to get him, they're gonna. I think they have to do it and live with it.
Real quick,
so live with it.
Real quick, let's just give a couple thoughts on the Super Bowl because it is the biggest game of the year. Even though I really am sick of watching the Super Bowl because the Patriots are in it every year. Leo really had it with the Patriots. But does Philadelphia have a chance? I think they do. I think Philadelphia, their offense is, Frank Reich has done a really nice job. Mm-hmm. He's done a real good job with Nick Foles replacing Carson Wentz. They do that run-pass option stuff, and, I've been reading up a little bit, and apparently that's the kind of stuff that could give New England, the New England's defense, trouble. So, I mean, if Foles has the game of his life, and they do the things that they did in the championship game against Minnesota, I think the Eagles could give them a pretty good game and maybe pull the upset. Well,
it's interesting how these are the two best teams in the league. They both best records
all year long. They were.
They both scored the same number of points on average, and they both given up the same number of points on average. They both won. They both were 13-13. These teams are matched. They're evenly. Now, New England has something like 30 players with 60 games of Super Bowl experience or something, some crazy number. Blows away Philly. Now, I do believe playing in this game. I mean, I know you can. I do believe that experience in this game matters, and they got guys that make plays.
Yep.
You saw it every time, and I think it's going to be a close game. It comes down to, I mean, you're not going to get much out of New England's running game against the number one run defense. Eagles run the ball better than New England does. Brady and New England pass it much better than Foles and the Eagles do. So I think it's an intriguing matchup. It's a good matchup. I wrote this week. I was talking to Al Michaels on a conference call. That backlash about the backlash of New England. I mean, this is not gonna make me a popular guy with Bills fans. I actually don't mind seeing what we're seeing. We're looking at history, Sal.
I understand.
I don't know if it'll ever happen again. It's an amazing run. You got to just at some point say, incredible what they do. Now, and the thing is too is New England has given us some of the great. They've given us the most entertaining Super Bowls every time they've played.
I know.
Their losses are their 2 losses to the Giants were like by 7 points, and their 5 wins are by 19 points. They do it. I mean, you got to give it up for them. I mean, I know it's going to pain a lot of people if the confetti's raining down on Tom Brady, because he's just so perfect.
Nauseating.
I had a person, a friend of mine told me the guy sold his soul to the devil because it's so damn perfect. But, hey, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to enjoy it. And I see New England in another close game.
I know. I think they're going to win, too. I just have such an illogical bias against New England. I just can't stand
I know you do. You
any
hate that.
Boston teams and this team in particular because
the guy who told
they've
me
been so successful.
The guy who told me in 2001, who's this Brady guy? He stinks.
All right, we're going to wrap it up here. Leo, thanks for joining me. Welcome back to the fray.
Yeah, it's nice being back, Sal. Thank you.
I like having my buddy right next to me here. So enjoy the Super Bowl this week. Programming note, I'm going to be doing radio this afternoon, 3 to 6 on Sports Talk 1280 here in Rochester. So join me over there and get on the air and we'll talk some football, I'm going to talk to you actually. He's going to come on with me, a second appearance with me, and talk some Brian Gianta, who he's doing a story on this week. So
out there now.
For Leo, I am Sal. Hope you enjoyed the show and we'll get back at you here pretty soon. Take care, everybody.